You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week, talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. June can be hot. It's going to be our hottest month. It's actually most Junes. It's the most difficult month to grow things because you start to see changes in plants. You can see the stress. You can see yellowing needles on trees. You can see fruits dropping, wilting at the end of the day. These are all things. Just get things to live through June, and then the monsoon show up and the rain comes, the clouds overhead. It just takes all the pressure off. And so I titled this segment, The Summer Shocker, Ken's Foolproof Rules for Planting Trees in June. Trees or shrubs or vines. And here's what it comes down to. What people don't really realize is you're not buying a plant when you come to the garden center. You're actually buying roots. And the bigger the root, the easier it is to grow that because it's got more capacity. It's in the ground. It's got a bigger mass in the ground. So it just takes all the pressure off. This goes for perennials. You can get a little 6-pack, itty bitty little like ice cube size root. And you look at that thing wrong, you miss one watering, it's gone. But if you get a gallon size, it can go 3 times as long with half the water and still survive. And it will start to bloom, it matures, grows faster. A lot of things happen faster. And so trees are the same way. You get a 1-gallon tree, oh boy, it takes one windstorm, it blows over. It just doesn't have any capacity. You go up to a 5 or 15-gallon size tree, all of a sudden you can blunder your way through that because the root ball is so much larger. It's got a 2-foot deep root mass. Whereas a 1 gallon might have a 6-inch, 8-inch root mass, so depth. And so it doesn't take long for just a few inches of soil to dry out, but to have 2 feet of soil, of garden soil to dry out in a day or two, no, that's not going to happen. It's going to take a week or two, especially for you folks out in the valley areas where you've got all this heavy, thick clay. In fact, if anything, you're going to overwater out there, not underwater. And so you tend to make the soil too gooey, and the roots literally can't breathe and they can't extend. Roots don't grow in water. They grow in rich, humic-filled, mulch, composted material with worms crawling through them. It's aerating the soil. The roots need air at the roots, but they give off air at the foliage area. And so you got to give them, they breathe from the roots. So the bigger the root, the easier it is to have that plant. You can plant, go on a cruise, come back, and it'll still be alive, even if your drip system goes off. But if you do that with a little 1-gallon thing, probably not. And so I did a couple videos this week. What brought this up is I was walking through our fruit tree line here at the garden center. We've got several hundred fruit trees, apples, pears, cherries, apricots, nectarines, plums, and some other figs, pomegranates, grapes, berries, all those. I was walking through going, what do we have? What can I talk about? And we've got these fantastic, just beautiful looking dwarf peaches. They've got purple foliage. Well, I've got some with purple foliage. The foliage is actually purple. It's quite beautiful. The plant is beautiful. And then they're putting on these full-size peaches. And then we've got the traditional green variety. Pixie, dwarfed peach trees. They're just so cute. I went, and they're 15-gallon size. They'd be perfect in a container. Absolutely gorgeous. Or out there in the yard. Typically how we design dwarf fruit trees into a landscape is you'll have this garden bed, you've got a focal piece, and that will be the centerpiece, or down the side of a walkway. Let's say that property line in between you and your neighbor. It's tight. Many of you can almost touch each other's houses between the space. It's small. Not everyone, but a lot of them are small. And so these are perfect small size trees to go down a property line. There's a new columnar apple tree. They're forming apples out there. Perfect for even a very tight space down that side property line grows great. Or you can have it as a feature on each corner of your pergola, or softening up that fence line in the back of the yard. There's lots of ways to design with them. And so that's a good way to do it. And they're so much easier to protect in the spring when you've got the risk of frost coming. So it's many times it looks like the frost may have gotten the nectarines this year, and maybe the cherries. I'm hearing some things where the cherry, it was such a huge crop of cherries last year. This year, it looks like they got tricked into blooming early, that warm March, and then it got a little cool in April, and it may have done something to them, or the thrip got to them, one of the two. Anyway, they've got a few cherries, not as many as last year. We're hearing this from other gardeners throughout the county. We're hearing this. And so it changes. Well, if you've got a smaller dwarfed variety, it's super easy to throw a sheet over them, protect them, keep the frost off. Shoot, if it really gets cold, it's going to snow, and it's the end of April, and these things have got cherries all over them. Super easy to cover it, throw a shop light or some sort of any heat source at all to just kind of keep the core of that thing from getting down to 32 degrees. And you've got peaches guaranteed, apples guaranteed, no matter the weather of spring. So it looks like apricots may have gotten it this year. No, I'm hearing apricots are really good this year. Nectarines and cherries are a little off. I guess it certainly depends on where you're at. And so I've got lots of peaches. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. In fact, we're starting to see some June drop. In fact, I ought to probably cover that in another segment. In fact, I'll do that. So we're seeing some things happening to plants. They're adjusting to the heat. You know, plants get hot too, just like you and I do. Apples start to self-prune. Peaches and nectarines start to just let go of some of the weaker of the fruits, and they'll just drop them. We call it June drop. Very common, not to be concerned. You're good. I would say just water them. Don't overdo it. The roots literally can't pull up enough moisture to support all of that fruit. And so what will happen is the peaches are the smart ones. Plums are the smart ones. They'll actually self-prune. They self-select. Oh, you're not quite performing. I'm going to let you go. And they just drop it on the ground. Apples don't do that. Pears don't do that. What they do is they go, I don't have enough. I can't pull up enough moisture. Doesn't matter how often you water. The root structure itself is not large enough to support that much nutrient and water for that many fruits. So what they will do is they just go, everyone gets a little bit. We're on rations. Sorry, you're not going to be as big this year. We're going to have little tiny pears, little tiny, lots of clusters of little tiny apples. So that's why we want to thumb prune or thin some of the fruit out on the apples and pears, more so than we do on the pitted fruits. So nectarines, plums, cherries, apricots, they seem to do it themselves. And so, but apples and pears, this is the time. So we're starting to see a very good selection. I mean, the apples and pears are loaded up this year. It's going to be, get the canning supplies ready. You better have apple leathers and apple sauces ready to go, because there's going to be a boatload of fruit this year. It's going to be exciting. And so those things, you probably ought to take the time this weekend. Just take off, leave all but 2 of the strongest apples per cluster. It'll hurt your soul. You're going to pick, it's like you're picking their eyeballs off or something. No. This is going to help them keep up with the root, with the water absorption from the roots, so they can take the remaining 2 you have out of this cluster of 5 apples or 4, whatever it is. Now it can put all of that energy into those 2 remaining fruits, and you will have glorious, huge, I mean, just baseball size apples. My mouth just watered a little bit. Oh, there's nothing like fruit when you've left the fruit on the actual tree for that extra 7-10 days. It's a game changer. It takes it from pithy store-bought to melts in your mouth, sugary delight. That's the beauty of growing your own. They're picking varieties, growing varieties at the grocery store so that you can ship them half ripened, and they'll ripen in the box or ripen when they finally get there on the shelf, and they just don't taste the same. If they can ripen right there on the tree, so much more delicious when you bite into that thing. We've
Waters
got
Garden companion plants for June are golden locust, silverberry, Hall's honeysuckle, and moonshine yarrow.
Moonshine yarrow is a fuss-free, heat-loving perennial with large clusters of canary yellow flowers held above a ferny foliage. It's just stunning.
Mountain tough, you can't kill this perennial that only blooms better year after year.
Javelina and rabbit detest the summer blooms.
You'll find moonshine yarrow for a limited time at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.